And then lastly, civic capabilities, the ability to play your part as a citizen. I was really struck again in the seminar's inquiry by someone who made the point that many people in prison, particularly young people, actually have nothing that indicates that they're a citizen at all. They have not even a number. They don't have a driving license. They don't have a national insurance number, and so on. There is absolutely nothing that says you are a part of the wider society. Well, that's that level, but giving people the sense that they are a part, they can contribute to society, is really important. And we, again, there are some wonderful schemes represented here where offenders and ex-offenders give back to society and have qualities, skills, experience that are tremendously valuable if they can be enabled to use them. So that may all sound instrumental. This is a picture of a man with a cushion on his head. What's that got to do with it? Well, there are wider issues to do with creativity in the curriculum. This was from a Safe Ground course, and I'm grateful to Safe Ground for having sort of taught me things about what they do. I went to a wonderful presentation in Belmarsh, I think the Family Man scheme, where prisoners were reciting poems, whole range of sort of artistic activities which were demonstrably improving their skills in a very concrete way, but which also related to their capacity to express themselves. And that's their program success. Well, I don't want to dwell too long on that. So let me finish, Pat, by talking about the key issues that really I think we saw as confronting them. And I guess these probably not new to you and not controversial. But I think they all need a sort of argumentation. First of all, as I've just been suggesting, to broaden the curriculum. I no doubt that the skills emphasis needs to be there. Offenders need to have a sense that they can engage in the economic life outside and have a chance of getting a job, looking after themselves. But just focusing narrowly on skills, as I argued at the start, I think is a mistake. You probably don't need me to persuade you of that. The transition point I've just spent some time talking about and don't really need to talk further, except it would be wonderful to hear today about successful initiatives that have made that transition really work and enabled the reintegration to happen, and where learning has been used as a part of that. Thirdly, focus on outcomes. I think this is a really difficult area. So there are obviously easy outcomes like getting a qualification or completing a course. I say easy to identify, not easy to achieve, because I know the issue of completing course when there's so much churn in the prisons is actually a very difficult one. But getting a sense of what happens as a result of the learning that goes on in prison is a crucial part of getting the common sense debate that I think we'd all want to see. Some of that involves trying to track people over time, and that, just from the researcher point of view, would, I think, be an enormously valuable thing to take forward. It doesn't have to be huge numbers, but actually finding out the trajectories of people who, once they leave prison, and the role that education has played in helping them reintegrate over time. So not just saying we're doing great stuff in the learning itself, but trying to make sure that we know what happens as a result of it is pretty important. Okay, this is not just a sort of populist appeal to people in the room, but actually valuing the workforce. But I mean that in the broadest sense. So not just those of you who are engaged in the delivery of learning, but the other people in the prison workforce for a start, and you know this, that many of them have pretty low qualifications and can be a very significant barrier. So I think it is looking at the workforce as a whole, but also I include in the workforce there intermediaries, volunteers, people who can make the system work, and really, so we're looking overall at all of those involved in trying to make a penal system as rational and as successful as possible. And it'd be very good to hear of any initiatives that have happened there. And then lastly, I think this is, I don't know about it, whether it's the most important challenge, but it does seem to me a tremendous challenge, is actually lifting the level of public debate. Most people simply do not understand what goes on, have no inkling of what goes on in prison. And that was the case for myself. I was going to start off actually by saying I have no professional expertise in prison work. I went first into prison in the early 70s, just as by pure happenstance, as a volunteer. A friend of mine was running a training scheme for social workers. She'd managed to get access to Pentonville to take her students into prison on a weekly basis. The summer came, the students all left, and she was afraid that if the scheme stopped, she wouldn't be able to restart it. So she rounded up all the friends that she could go. We masqueraded as I can say this now, I guess. We masqueraded as social work students, etc. And that was me, middle-class boy. I'd never been to prison before. It was an eye-opener, an ear-opener, a nose-opener. All of those, the impact that prison has when you go in the first time. And I carried on going for a couple of years, not because I became a social worker, but just because I found it really interesting and important. But so many of the public have still, I think, incredibly limited appreciation. Now, some interesting work. I was just reading, just so you don't think I only promote my own, our own publications. This is publication just came out from the RS, I think very recently, called The Learning Prison from the RSA. And they cite some work done, I think, Esme Fairbairn Foundation on public attitudes. And actually, there are glimmers of hope there in the sense that once people were sat down and the issues were run through them, people, when given the choice, say, on how to spend an additional 10 million or 100 million, very, very few of them said, build more prison places, lock up more people. That was not the position. So how come that the population as a whole has gone along with the increase in prison population? It is a matter of education and of public education. And I think you, above all, are the people to take that debate forward, to take it out to the wider public so that we can move the debate on to a new footing. I'm not going to run through this life course model. Those are the specific publications, and thank you very much. Please take the issues, not publications, but if the issues and the recommendations we've identified you feel resonate with you, please do take them forward into your own networks, because that's where we'll have some influence. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Tom. It's so much rich material in the reports you cited. It's very helpful to have had some glimpses of it, and I hope it's interested you to dig further into the reports. Today is structured very much as a dialogue, so before I invite Merryn to make a formal response, just talk to your neighbours again for 3 or 4 minutes and say what struck you from what Tom said, what questions there are in your mind, and then you'll be able to bring those out a little bit later on. So again, just react to your neighbours for a few minutes.